So this week we are going to tell you what the steps it takes to become a veterinarian. So I'm Dr. Jeff Smith from the Danville Family Vet, and I've been a veterinarian for 25 years, and this is Joy Taylor with me, and she's applying in the process of choosing a vet school right now. So she's got all the most up-to-date information, and hopefully I have some things to add as well. Please comment below. Even if you're watching this video later, then if you can comment below, and I'll be happy to answer those comments in the future. If you have any ideas for new topics, if you have any questions about this, give us feedback, because this is really for you. We want to create a session here every week where I'm accessible and we can have a call-in question and answer, and also I can be in touch with what people are interested in, and we can tailor it for you. So, speaking of tailoring, this is Joy Taylor.
And that was
pretty
segue.
good, huh? Uh-huh.
We're getting
Man,
this
we're getting
down.
professional on this.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up in northeastern North Carolina in Elizabeth City. I'm the fourth born, 3 older brothers, so that's why my name's Joy. They finally got a girl, so they named me Joy. I've always loved animals. And I've always had a passion for animals, and it's just been my heart's desire to become a veterinarian from since I was maybe 4. I had little stuffed bunny rabbits, and I would be their doctor, and I collected them, and I'd listen to their little heart and listen to their foot and listen to their head, and that's what I wanted to do. So as I got older, I kind of looked more into what I needed to do to get there, and that's kind of been my journey of just figuring out how can I be a veterinarian.
So you've worked at other veterinary practices in the past, or?
Yep. I've shadowed. I shadowed a little bit in Elizabeth City. It was a small clinic. They treated dogs under 50 pounds, so it was a very small clinic, and I wanted to kind of expand a little bit more and see a little bit more of, what about bigger dogs? What about other animals? What about exotics? And so
you were in Elizabeth
here.
City in high school years, I guess, and then you went away to school at NC State?
Yes. So I was actually homeschooled up through until I got to high school. Then I went to a private school and then went to a community college after high school, transferred from the community college to a 4-year school, which was NC State University. So that was my ultimate goal, to get there, and I studied animal science there.
So you were working towards a veterinary degree the whole time?
The whole time, yeah.
That's interesting. So why did you want this job in Danville, Virginia, of all places?
Well, when I graduated with my bachelor's, I knew that I needed animal experience. I needed to learn what it's like to actually work in a place and get hands-on experience. So I knew I needed to work under the supervision of a veterinarian, teaching me the things I need to know going into this. So I just started doing some research on what clinics were hiring, looked at places where I could live, and Danville was a great option. So Danville Family Vet seemed like a wonderful place to work. Put in my application, and I've loved it ever since.
Well,
so I've
we're
been
certainly
here 2
glad
years.
it's worked out. 2 years.
Yes. So very happy, yeah.
Yeah, it's been very good for both of us. I mean, you've brought a lot of good things for us too, so we're really happy to have you here. So let's talk about, what advice would you give someone watching about becoming a veterinarian?
I would say the first thing is do well in school. You can do well in school in high school. You can just do everything you can to learn the material, but also just get good grades, because that speaks a lot to whenever you're applying to a 4-year institution. How you do in high school matters, and then moving forward, how you do in that 4-year institution, that school's going to look at your GPA sometimes above other things. So just try to do really well in school. Make friends with your professors. If they can be great recommendations for you in the future. So just study hard, work hard, and don't give up.
That's a couple things I've learned. It's taken me a lot longer than you. You're wiser than I am. beyond your years. But when I was in high school, I didn't apply myself as well as I should have probably. And what I found throughout my life that learning is very important, and everything you learn, it's knowledge that you won't lose. So it's cumulative. It's like you learn more on top of that. It's value that you hold with you for the rest of your life. But I think there's kind of two games to education. There's one is learning and learning as much as you can, and the other one is getting the right grades in the right classes so that it looks good on a resume so you can get into vet school.
Yeah, in a way it is like a game, but really try to learn as much as you can, especially when it comes to getting your hands-on experience. If you want to go to vet school one day, don't just get the hours. Don't just try to get 40 hours or whatever the requirement is. Try to really learn while you're there. It's going to really help you in the future. So,
you have a comment?
We do. We have a question from Katie Rigney-Rorig, and she would like to know, was there any subjects that you should focus on?
It depends on the school what prerequisites are required for vet school. So definitely look at the school that you want to go to. A lot of schools require organic chemistry. So you want to pay attention to your high school chemistry classes because it's going to matter in the future. Like Dr. Smith was saying, things build on each other. So organic chemistry is one. Some schools require biochemistry. Some schools require genetics, microbiology, and then animal nutrition courses. Some schools require those. So just look at the specific college that you're going into. Science and math are required in most vet schools. So you have to really do your homework and pay attention. They want to see good grades in high-level science courses.
I think again, I'm not saying it's all a game, but I think that one of the things you said earlier, one of the things about learning, one of the greatest tools that I've found as being a veterinarian for 25 years is the connections that you make. And is making a connection with your professors because they know a lot. And it's more than what they just teach you in class. And if you can make that personal connection with them, they can be very helpful to you. And so my personal connections with other veterinarians and specialists in the field have helped me immensely to be able to do my job. But the other side of the gamesmanship is, I think organic chemistry, we used to call it as the weed out course.
Yeah.
And it was like, I have not done any organic chemistry in my career whatsoever. But they have this course that's very difficult, and it proves to them, the administrators who are trying to check to see if you're coming into school, is that if you can learn organic chemistry, it's like learning a foreign language and applying the techniques and the mathematics and everything involved in it, and you can get through that course, then you've proven that you can study and you can learn. And then when you go to vet school, you'll be learning different things, but they know that you have a certain ability.
It proves that you have to have good, strong study habits. It proves that you can sometimes you just have to teach yourself with some of these courses, honestly, and it proves that you are in charge of your own education. You're not just letting other people just feed you information. You have to be the one to take charge of your own education, get good grades, regardless of what your teachers and how your teachers teach. If you need to get a tutor on the side, that's what I did. I needed a tutor. I knew I needed a tutor. So I got a tutor and I improved my GPA because I was able to reach out for help. Always ask questions, always reach out, and just really be in charge of what you want to do. And don't just let people hand things to you. Just go out and get it.
At school 25 years ago when I was applying, I went to Auburn, but I went to Auburn undergraduate and I applied to Auburn, so my counselors knew what the Auburn Vet School wanted, and they knew what the curriculum was and what courses I should take and what grades I need to achieve in each of those courses. And so it was like a one-step process. And if I didn't get in there, I may have branched out from here. But now I understand the system is very different, that you can do it online and you can apply to multiple schools, and they each have their own kind of...
Right. So there's one general application for vet school. It's called VMCAS, and you submit the general application, and the application is seen by all the vet schools that you're applying to, but you also have supplemental applications. So if I applied to North Carolina, Mississippi, Illinois, I would submit the general application, and then I would submit one application for NC State, one for Illinois, one for Mississippi, and you're really doing a lot of applications, but it's just the game. It's part of what you have to do. You have to, no one will necessarily tell you that there's a supplemental application for the North Carolina State University, but you have to do the homework, submit the VMCAS, and then see if they want another application, and just do everything that that school requires you to do. So it just
So that's something like the what those schools require. If they require specific classes and so forth, at what point do you need to be researching this? In your freshman year of college?
I would be researching it as early as possible. If you know that this is what you want to do, and if you have a passion for it, and if that passion has not gone away since you've been a child, it's a good chance that you're going to still have it into adulthood and as you go to college. So if you're in high school, if you're in 8th grade, if you're in 7th grade, it doesn't matter. You should look at what you need to do and make plans, and plans can always change, but I think the earlier the better, so you can plan things out a little bit. And like I said, just always look at what school you're interested in and go that way, go that route. So
You know, life is a learning process, and I think that I kind of got into it. My dad was a veterinarian, so it was an easy place for me to work after school at high school, and even when I was younger, I was always kicking around the clinic and stuff. But so I kind of learned a lot of things by osmosis, but I had an interest in it, and it was, you know, just, you know, we need Jeff. Can he run these tests for us? Can you learn how to sterilize this pack? And can you understand how different things work? And so I picked up a lot of learning in the process. And like you were saying before, don't just do your 40 hours of volunteer work. You know, go out and seek out people. I went and rode with a equine vet one time, and you know, you don't get paid at all for that, but I got an immense amount of invaluable experience from that.
yeah.
And now back to your applying to vet school, do you need to take MCAT test?
Some schools will accept MCAT, and that most schools accept the GRE, and some schools don't even look at the GRE. So some schools don't even require that you take any test. So just look at what you need to do, what you're interested in. The GRE is kind of not my favorite. It has a lot of subjects on it, so just get as many study books for that as you can. I did that. I got a GRE study book beforehand before I took it.
So how do you go about it in real terms? I mean, I think there's like 28 vet schools in the country now, and there's a couple in the Caribbean that are associated with the American vet schools. So you just kind of pick where you want to go and try to focus in on a few of them, or?
It's really hard for me to say what you should do, but I look at cost a lot. I tend to look at vet school as, a lot of people call it debt school, because it is such a financial commitment, and you have to be committed, and don't just go in it if you think you want to do it, because you're going to be left with a lot of debt. But if you're committed to it, it's worth it. But I do look at cost. I look at in-state tuition versus out-of-state tuition, international tuition. I did apply to a school in Australia, and I was accepted, but the cost of it is kind of worrying me a little bit, and it's it's like 5 times the cost of going to vet school in North Carolina, which is where I really would like to go. So I look at cost, I look at the program, the ranking, you know, whether or not you want to study exotic medicine may change which school you want to go to. If you want to study large animal, cattle, beef, you might want to go to, you know, more of an agricultural school than one up north or something like that. Like, it just depends.
That's interesting. In our profession, there's a big debate now, because we're kind of at a tipping point where the technology has expanded so much that the field has become more and more progressive, and it's growing exponentially. But so it takes a lot to provide veterinary medicine, and we can provide a lot better care now than we used to be able to, but it's also very expensive. And then so people with their pets, there's this tug of war going on where pet insurance is not very popular if right now, but if it were, that wouldn't be as much of a problem. So you think about the human field, where if you go in for a hysterectomy, it may cost you $25,000, where people expect to get their dog a hysterectomy or a spay surgery for $150 or something like that. So somewhere in that range, there's a contraction of all that money has to go somewhere.
Right.
You know, and it goes into smaller salaries for all of us, and different things with the cost. And so same thing with vet school is that it's so expensive, as all secondary education has become. And then you have you're kind of at a fixed area of what your income is going to be. And some of these, I just read an article recently that, you know, a new veterinarian had graduated from Cornell, and she had $350,000 in debt, and she went to a financial advisor, and the financial advisor told her that, I wish you had come to me before vet school, and he would have said, purely on a financial basis, this is not a reward return investment. You shouldn't have done it. And so that's a difficult...
It's like, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for telling me that. But
Yeah.
so kind of like anybody, like when you came to work here, anybody who comes to work here, I always look for their passion first, because I think it's kind of a bizarre thing that, you know, you have this passion, you want to become a veterinarian, and then one day, like in June of 1994, I became Dr. Smith. I walked across the stage, and then for the rest of my life, it's like, this is who I am. It's part of my identity. It's not like it's a job that you do. It's a calling, it's a career, it's an identity. So it's and if you don't live it and love it, then you're not going to do well in it.
Right.
Because
It's a career, a profession that you have to have a heart for it. If it were about the money, I honestly wouldn't be a veterinarian. But I do have to think about money as far as school goes. But the passion is there, and I plan on going to vet school regardless. I'm serious. I'm not. If I'm 40 or 50 or whatever, I'm gonna get there. It's just the road to getting there is different for everybody. Honestly.
in your vet school application again now, what would you say makes you stand out among the, I don't know how many thousands of people? Do you know any numbers like that? How many people would apply to a certain school?
I think vet schools in general want a diverse class. So if there's any way that you can make yourself stand out, it's always best. I think when I applied to Australia, I stood out because I was from the South and I was from the United States, simply because of where I came from. I stood out. But on the other hand, if I apply to NC State, I'm also very similar to a lot of the applicants. I'm a white female who studied animal science and who works at a vet clinic. A lot of the people are white females who studied animal science and work at a vet clinic. So I think just essays, how I kind of talk about myself in my essays, the different character qualities that jump out, and different scenarios of how I've demonstrated character can make me stand out. And overall, letters of recommendation can help me, which has helped me.
That's a good point. So where do letters of recommendation come from?
So the doctors that I work for,
is that what the school wants you to get recommendations from veterinarians?
Yes. So from veterinarians, most schools require 1 or 2 recommendations from a veterinarian, and the 3rd or 4th recommendation can be from a professor who can attest to the fact that, yeah, you can handle college level courses and do well in them. But a lot of vet schools want to see from another veterinarian, yes, she has what it takes. She has the passion, or she has the motivation, or whatever is needed. And they take it seriously because it's coming from another person within the profession.
Yeah. And when I write a recommendation, it's kind of triggers from the other side of it. It's very easy for me to write a recommendation for Joy because she does a fantastic job. She's totally involved and passionate about what she does, and she cares about people, and she's honest, and she works hard. So I know that she'd be a great representative of the profession. And I view it as it's a very small group, our profession, and we have to police ourselves, and we're looking for good people to join the profession. if somebody comes and they volunteer for a week here and they're very nice, and didn't get a chance to really sit down and talk to them, and then they ask me for a recommendation, then I can tell the truth that they're very nice and they were here for a week, and I didn't see anything that makes me think they wouldn't be a good vet, but I just don't really know them on a personal level, and that's how I write the recommendation. Or there's been maybe one occasion, I think, that I can remember where I said, I can't write a recommendation for you because I would have to be honest, and I think some of these things that I would say would detract from your opportunity to become a vet. So if you are interested in going to vet school, then it's you're not just trying to get a recommendation, but if you're trying to learn and you go out and get all that experience, those recommendations are going to come from people around you automatically.
You're going to make connections with people if you really just do what you need to do to teach yourself, to learn yourself, to educate yourself. You're going to make connections and ask questions and develop a relationship with the people around you.
But hopefully that will stimulate your thinking, and if anybody has any ideas about vet school, please comment below or send us a message, or if you put a comment on there, then I will read it, and if you want me to get back with you, I can, or tag a friend who might enjoy this conversation, and just let us know. And otherwise, we'll be back again every Tuesday. We'll be back next week at 3 o'clock, and we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.